So it's January 2026. 2025 was quite a year.
It was.
And now we're heading into 2026, which I think is also going to be quite a year. I mean, we're only a few days in, and already the world has been quite exciting over the past sort of few days.
Yeah.
So maybe a good opportunity now to have a quick chat. What do we think is going to happen in 2026? What are the trends? What are we seeing companies doing? What are we going to be doing as well?
I think it's a really good question, and always feels really lovely to go into the new year with some sort of resolutions and lots of plans and feeling really excited and sort of pumped to get started with the next 12 months, despite the craziness of the news cycle and everything that's been happening in sustainability over the last few years. I think definitely feels like it's been quite a tough environment for sustainability professionals over the last couple of years. And I think there have been various reasons for that. The sort of political wins, regulatory rollbacks, particularly in places like the EU we've seen, which has been so challenging for a lot of companies that have done a huge amount of preparation and then had to sort of
roll it back,
literally. Legal pressures around things like green claims has been a huge, big deal for a lot of people. So it's been quite a tough time. But I do think that actually that gives the opportunity to move forward with a slightly different lens and a different outlook on how we're approaching 2026 and beyond. I think there are some positive sides to all of this. And for me, that really feels like pushing sustainability away from something that's quite performative towards something that's very action-driven. I don't know whether you're sort of having that same sense.
Yeah, I think doing sustainability because it's good for business. It's going, we have all been talking about it for a long time, but I think that message is now in companies that it's not necessarily about the marketing and the communications. It should never have been, but obviously it's important to be able to talk about it, but actually you've got to do it because it's a more resilient, more risk-free business that understands its entire ecosystem better through suppliers, through stakeholders. And if you are more sustainable, you're doing things that are more efficient by the very nature of the word. And I think it's got to come back to that for businesses, especially the harder the times are, and the markets and the world is still a little bit topsy-turvy at the moment. I think it gives security and a little bit more certainty if you have that implemented into teams so they know where they stand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's kind of almost coming back to sustainability as a choice, which feels almost like it went out of fashion for a while somehow. And I think those compliance pressures are still there, particularly for larger companies. The procurement pressures are really still there. And we saw that a lot last year. And I think my kind of prediction for this year is to see that even more, particularly in the UK, we've got the Social Value Act, which means that, particularly for public procurement, you're seeing that pressure on kind of being able to evidence sustainability really driving procurement. And I think that will continue.
Yeah, I think evidence and verified are probably two of the big words to take into next year, because you can't just say that you're doing it. Yeah. I know but again, we've been talking about it for a long time, but you really can't just say you're doing something now. I mean, even Social Value Act, you've really got to prove that what is happening is happening. And I think that's the same with all of the sort of the EU laws, which are slower than we expected, but they are now starting to come in and people are having to prepare for them. And it's all about evidence and intent to improve.
Due diligence, right?
Yes.
Is kind of almost the buzzword as we move forward. And having that sort of verification, I think, is really important.
One of the other trends I think we're seeing at the moment is around data and tech. Something that we believe very strongly in, that it definitely helps sustainability and that tech is absolutely brilliant. But I think AI really, again, whipped the world up into a storm last year. And I think we're going to come to terms with that, what that looks like for a lot of sustainability roles over the next sort of 12 months plus. And I think on our side, what we've seen is that AI is so brilliant at so many things. It can make very mundane tasks more efficient. It gives more access to more people to understand what sustainability means. But it still can't do what humans do really well. And I think there's still a really strong role, particularly in sustainability, for humans and sustainability professionals in guiding and implementing sustainability into companies.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. And we keep having this conversation at FuturePlus, don't we, about how things are shifting on a kind of quarterly or even on a monthly basis, the conversations that we're having around AI and tech and what it can do and what it can achieve are shifting so quickly. It's kind of hard to keep up. It can feel quite overwhelming, but it's also hugely exciting. I think that possibility for AI and tech to completely transform the way that we think about data and that we use data is so exciting. And as you mentioned, that kind of operational efficiency piece is brilliant for sustainability. When you think about the possibilities of what we could use AI to achieve in terms of efficiency, that is also mind-blowing. But as you said, I think that has to come with a kind of caveat that you need that human wraparound in all of this. In the same way that, before AI, just with kind of tech more generally, its capabilities are fantastic, but you need that human element, that verification, that authentic voice to help you understand how to use the tech and what the products of the tech mean for your business and how to use it most efficiently.
Yeah, and you've got to be so sure that the data going in is as good as it can be, is as robust as it can be, and as correct and accurate as it can be, the more that AI is used. And I think, again, that is going to take, at least for the foreseeable future, that human interaction with what that looks like and what it means, because if you can be very efficient at very bad things, it's not necessarily about efficiency, it's about responsibility and what that looks like and helping companies. And I think the other side to that is what we're seeing is a greater sort of level of questioning around is what's the ethics and the morals around that for companies bringing it in. If I'm going to use AI, what does that mean to my carbon footprint? What does that mean to the roles that I'm recruiting for? If I'm using a piece of AI tech that's helping me sort of manage my team, how do I know what the biases look like within that? So I think there's a whole world of sustainability that's going to become more of the conversation as we move through 2026 as well.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that, of course, a lot of people are talking about the carbon footprint of AI and a lot of people are talking about the kind of bias in the training and that, but the kind of connections between AI as a sustainability topic, that penny doesn't quite seem to have dropped, I don't feel. I'm sure it will very soon, but that feels like something super interesting that will be happening throughout 2026.
That also leads us on to kind of linking those two as sustainability professionals and what they're doing in companies and what their future looks like. I think we've seen definitely over the last couple of years is teams of one. Yeah. A lot of sustainability teams have been reduced. We've had a couple of conversations about this. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing as long as they have responsibility in order to make decisions and they are decision making, but also that they have the support throughout companies and through the heads of companies in order to actually make the changes that need to happen. And it could be a very positive move if sustainability is embedded throughout all of those roles and into job descriptions. I
think that's really key. If you're going to have reduced sustainability teams, you absolutely need that person or that very small team to have support from the wider organisation. I think we have been having a lot of conversations and will continue to this year around sustainability in the finance department, sustainability in the operations department, sustainability in the HR department. And that has always existed, but it seems to have kind of been brought into a sharper focus by these smaller sustainability teams or one person sustainability team having to rely on those other roles. And actually, that might be difficult and challenging, but it creates an amazing opportunity for that person to go out to each of those departments and really try to embed sustainability into the aspects of the business where it might not have felt like a natural fit before. Yeah. So I think it's both a challenge and opportunity for sure. And I think that again, the marrying, going back to all of these things being so connected, is that marrying of tech into their world and having the right support for them to be able to manage that sustainability on that broader scale that we talk about of climate, environment, social, economic diversity, inclusion, which is a big responsibility for one person to have it in any sort of format, but really using tech throughout the sort of to make that easier and to make it more sensible so that they're focusing on not just reporting, because I think that's something that we saw for a little while is
just a focus on reporting and compliance reporting rather than actually actions that are making businesses more sustainable.
What's vital is to have a system that pulls everything together, which is why something like FuturePlus is so fantastic. You can have lots of different people accessing it, creates that lovely rounded framework that is understandable and accessible for everyone within a business. You can still have the sustainability team leading the charge, but it means that everyone can pull together and be part of that move forward.
And then for us, we have quite an exciting year coming up. We've got lots of plans. We've got some new people starting at the beginning of the year, which I think is going to be really interesting. And then lots more conversations, lots more podcasts, lots more sort of content going out from what we're doing. But I think we're feeling really positive about it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think we are definitely approaching 2026 with a lot of positivity, a lot of new plans. Development of the platform is something that is really exciting for me, and that bringing AI into what we're doing with care and caution and thoughtfulness, but really in order to bring a huge amount of value to our customers and to make their experience working with FuturePlus the best it possibly can be.
So we're going to be doing more of these as part of our sort of extra content. So hopefully once a month, little snippets talking with different members of the team, as well as doing sort of our normal podcast. And if you want to find out more about it, you can head to www.future-plus.co.uk. But we're very much looking forward to having a conversation with you all.